Join me as we navigate through the English grammar, uncovering the top 50 mistakes you might be making. Let's dive right in and uncover the first 5 mistakes in our countdown. At number 50, we have the classic mix up between less and fewer. Remember, if you can count it, use fewer. Number 49 is the misuse of who and whom. A tip to remember is who is for subjects and whom is for objects. At 48, we find the incorrect use of affect and effect. Affect is a verb, effect is a noun. Next, at 47, we see then and then often get confused. Then relates to time, while then is used for comparison. Finally, at number 46 is the misuse of its and its. Its is a contraction of it is or it has, and its is a possessive pronoun. Already learned something new? We're just getting started. Moving on to the next set of common errors. Mistake number 45, using than instead of then. Remember, than is used for comparison, while then indicates a sequence of events. For example, I'd rather eat an apple than a banana, not than a banana. Next up, mistake number 44. Confusing its with its. Its is a contraction of it is or it has, while its is a possessive pronoun. For instance, it's a beautiful day, not it's a beautiful day. Mistake number 43. Using less when you should use fewer. Fewer is for countable items and less is for uncountable ones. Say, I have fewer apples, not I have less apples. Mistake 42 is using double negatives. Two negatives make a positive in English. So instead of saying I don't need no help, say I don't need any help. Finally, mistake 41, using who instead of whom. Whom is used as the object of a verb or preposition. For example, to whom was the letter written? Not to who was the letter written. Grammar's tricky, isn't it? But don't worry, we're tackling these mistakes together. Ready for the next round of grammar gaps? Let's dive right in. At number 40, we see the classic mix-up, less instead of fewer. Remember, if you can count it, you should use fewer. For instance, you have fewer apples, not less apples. Coming in at 39, many people confuse its with its. Its is a contraction of it is or it has, while its is a possessive pronoun. So you'd say it's raining, but the cat is licking its paw. Mistake number 38 is using who instead of whom. Whom is used when someone is the object of a verb or preposition, like in to whom was the letter written. At 37, we have the misuse of me and I. It's you and I, not you and me, when it's the subject of a sentence. Finally, at 36, we often see then used instead of than in comparisons. It's bigger than a bread box, not bigger than a bread box. See how small changes can make a big difference in our English. Still with me? Let's explore more common mistakes. At number 35, we often see less used where fewer should be. Remember, fewer is for countable things, like fewer apples, not less apples. Moving on to 34, it's mixing up who and whom. Use who for a subject and whom for an object. A handy tip? If you can replace it with he or she, use who. If him or her fits, use whom. Mistake number 33 is using that instead of who when referring to people. It's the person who, not the person that. Next up, at 32, be careful not to split infinitives. To boldly go should be to go boldly. Finally, at 31, avoid double negatives. I don't need no help should be I don't need any help. I bet you're starting to look at English in a new light. Let's keep the momentum going with the next 5 common mistakes. At number 30, we have I did not yet ate. This should be corrected to I have not yet eaten. Remember, when using yet, we should use the present perfect tense. Coming in at 29 is he don't like coffee. The correct form is he doesn't like coffee. Use doesn't when referring to he, she, or it. Our 28th mistake is I'm taller than my brother. This is correct if you are indeed taller. However, if your brother is taller, you should say, my brother is taller than I am. At 27, we find I feel goodly. The correct phrase is I feel good. Adjectives, not adverbs, are used to describe feelings. And finally, at 26, we have I seen that movie. The correct sentence is I've seen that movie or I saw that movie. Remember, practice makes perfect. We're halfway through our countdown. Let's keep going. At number 25, we have the misuse of less and fewer. Remember, fewer is for countable things, while less is for uncountable. So we say fewer apples, not less apples. Coming in at 24 is the confusion between its and its. Its is possessive like his or hers. Its is short for it is or it has. At 23, we have the mistake of using who instead of whom. Whom is used when referring to the object of a verb or preposition. Number 22 is the misuse of me and I. I is a subject pronoun and me is an object pronoun. So it's you and I, not you and me, when it's the subject of a sentence. Finally, at 21 is the error of using double negatives. 2 negatives make a positive in English. So saying I don't need no help actually means you do need help. Are some of these mistakes starting to sound familiar? We're getting closer to the top. Let's reveal the next 5 mistakes. Mistake number 20, using less when you should use fewer. Remember, if you can count it, use fewer. For instance, I have fewer apples than you, not I have less apples than you. 19. Confusing who and whom. A quick tip, use who when it's the subject of a sentence and whom when it's the object. 18 brings us to the misuse of me and I. If you're unsure which to use in a sentence, try removing the other person. For example, you wouldn't say me went to the store, so it's John and I went to the store. 17. The incorrect use of lay and lie. Remember, lay needs an object and lie does not. Mistake number 16. Using affect as a noun and effect as a verb. Generally, affect is a verb and effect is a noun. Don't worry if you're guilty of these. We're all here to learn and improve. Ready to tackle the next set of common errors? Let's dive right into it. Mistake 15 is using the word very excessively. Instead of saying very good, try wonderful, excellent, or fantastic. Notice the difference? It's more precise and less redundant. Mistake 14 involves the misuse of the words few and a few. Remember, few implies scarcity, while a few means several. For instance, I have few friends suggests you don't have many friends, while I have a few friends means you have some. Moving on to mistake 13, it's the incorrect use of who and whom. Use who as the subject and whom as the object in a sentence. For example, who made this cake versus to whom was the cake given? Mistake 12 is the double negative. Saying I don't need no help is incorrect. Instead say I don't need any help. Finally, mistake 11 is using less when you should use fewer. Fewer is for countable items. Less is for uncountable. So it's fewer apples, not less apples. Remember, understanding our mistakes is the first step to correcting them. We're now entering the top 10. Let's uncover these common mistakes. Coming in at number 10, we have the misuse of fewer and less. Fewer is used for countable items and less for uncountable ones. For instance, we say fewer apples, not less apples. Mistake number 9 is the incorrect use of who and whom. Who is a subject pronoun, while whom is an object pronoun. For example, you would say, who is there? And to whom was the letter written? And number 8, we find the confusion of affect and effect. Affect is usually a verb meaning to influence, whereas effect is a noun meaning result. The 7th most frequent mistake is the wrong use of its and its. Its is a possessive pronoun, while it is a contraction of it is or it has. And at number 6, we have the misuse of there, and there. There shows possession. There is a contraction of they are, and there refers to a place. We're almost at the top. Are you ready to discover the most common English grammar mistakes? Here we are, the top 5 most common English grammar mistakes. Let's dive in. Number 5, the misuse of good and well. We often hear sentences like, I'm doing good. But remember, good is an adjective and well is an adverb, so the correct phrase would be, I'm doing well. Moving on to number 4, the incorrect use of fewer and less. If you can count it, use fewer. For example, I have fewer apples than you. If you can't count it, use less. For instance, there is less water in my glass. Number 3, the infamous dangling modifier. This one can be a bit tricky. A dangling modifier is a word or phrase that modifies a word not clearly stated in the sentence. For example, having finished the assignment, the Xbox was my next target. Here, it sounds like the Xbox has finished the assignment, which is, of course, nonsensical. The corrected version would be, having finished the assignment, I made the Xbox my next target. The runner-up at number 2, the misuse of who and whom. Who is a subject pronoun and whom is an object pronoun. Here's a tip. If you can replace the word with he or she, use who. If you can replace it with him or her, use whom. For example, to whom was the letter written? And finally, the most common mistake in English grammar is the use of double negatives. In English, 2 negatives create a positive. So saying, I don't need no help means you do need help. The correct phrase should be, I don't need any help. And there you have it, the top 50 most common English grammar mistakes and how to correct them. Let's take a moment to recap the top 5 mistakes we've discussed today. We started with the 5th most common mistake, which is the misuse of fewer and less. Remember, we use fewer for countable items and less for uncountable ones. So you would say fewer apples, but less water. The fourth mistake is the confusion between who and whom. To keep things simple, use who as the subject of a sentence and whom as the object. For example, who ate the last cookie? And to whom should I address this letter? Next, we tackled the third error, which involves the difference between affect and effect. Affect is generally used as a verb meaning to influence something. Effect, on the other hand, is typically a noun, signifying a result. So, you might say, the weather can greatly affect your mood, and the effect of the storm was devastating. The second mistake, and a very common one, is the misuse of there. There and there. There is a possessive pronoun. There is a contraction of they are, and there refers to a place or position. For instance, their house is over there, where they're hosting a party. Finally, the number one grammar pitfall we discuss is the incorrect use of its and its. Its is a possessive pronoun, while its is a contraction of it is or it has. So you would say, the cat chased its tail and it's a beautiful day. These are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the grammar mistakes. But they are some of the most frequently made mistakes in English. By being aware of these and making an effort to correct them, you can significantly improve your language skills. Remember, nobody is perfect, and it's through our mistakes that we learn and grow. Until next time, keep practicing and improving your English.